Hi everyone, welcome to the show. Today we're talking about DACA recipients getting detained and not receiving bond and have to go to court. We're seeing this more and more. I think ever since last year with the new memo coming out where DACA recipients cannot apply for firearm, and it's up to the discretion for them to directly issue notice of intent to appear and ICE check-ins. And then we're seeing that more and more. What is the solution, right? I mean, to ICE, it is not a matter of when. No, it's not a matter of if they're going to be deported. It's only a matter of when they're going to be deported, right? That's what ICE agents always say regarding DACA recipients. To them, they don't have legal right here. It's a deferred deportation method. They are like visa waiver. They entered without, people who are on visa waiver, they signed away their right to immigration bond hearings, etc. Well, if you entered without inspection, even more so, you don't have right to any of this. So it's a mandatory detention. But because you're a DACA recipient, they generally don't go after you. But if you get picked up and there's other things, you have arrest records, then they might, even though DACA recipients have been here for decades and they're contributing to the US. And for one small minor thing, now they're getting picked up and they have to show up in front of ICE. And we're seeing people without any criminal records, right? So if it was a DACA recipient that have like really bad rap sheet and they're getting picked up by ICE, I don't think it will make the news. But all across the US, we're seeing DACA recipients who are getting these notices seemingly out of nowhere for check-ins. And after check-in, the scary thing is, well, what if it's detention? And what if it's detention without bond? Now you're locked up for what, 3 months, 6 months, a year, and if there's no way out, right? You can't file adjustment of status. There's no way out. Then your whole family, your kids, what are you gonna do? The solution that the immigration community has found to work is the habeas corpus. It is the argument in federal court, not immigration court, in federal court, saying you do not have the right to detain me. And so it is scary that this thing is happening, and that is the solution that we found it to work. We didn't know it was going to work. It was a very low chance that it was going to work. But just last year alone, the immigration lawyer community had filed more habeas corpus claims than I think 5 years combined or something like that. It was this astronomical amount, and a lot of them got approved. So the immigration courts won't grant bond. The immigration courts won't adjudicate, won't terminate a case, won't let you even go out with an ankle tracker. Yet, the immigration court will close the case because of habeas corpus, because of federal court. And I think that is, when push comes to shove, that is the only solution, right? Because immigration court, they are responsible for the enforcement, right? They're not part of the official judicial system. They're not the Article III courts. They're still part of the same deportation community under the federal government, under the executive branch, essentially, right? It is not part of the official judiciary. So when you bring in the official judiciary to challenge, hey, ICE, you don't have the right to detain a client. Hey, why don't I get a bond hearing? Then they have to answer it, and they can't answer it. Well, then that's a problem. We're going to start doing this, and we're launching our nonprofit. I think if people who have been watching the show know, we've been working on it for the past half a year. It's officially incorporated. It's called American Immigration Lab. One arm of that is the Making Immigration Better. We have a separate YouTube channel for that, talking about education and immigration. We're going to do live events in the next few months. We haven't figured out exactly when. But if you are in the LA area, Southern California specifically, and you know an organization, a church, a community, a union that have a lot of people who have this need, who are, let's say, DACA recipients, or who are in fear of that they will be potentially picked up, let us know, right? Because we will work with those unions or those organizations, and we will go and we'll do a seminar. And this is all for free because it's a nonprofit, right? We'll do the seminar, and one of the things that we're going to do is prepare these habeas corpus applications so everybody will have it on hand in their back pocket in case anytime somebody gets picked up, boom, they can pull it out and use it, right? more details are to come about that. I mean, this is one of the major things that we know works. We know this is a major thing that most people can't afford. A lot of habeas corpus applications are upwards in the 10,000, 15,000. And who would pay that kind of money if you don't even need it yet, right? Now, if you're very wealthy, you pay that as an insurance, sure, but most people cannot. Especially in Southern California, where it's really expensive right now with all the inflation. So we want to do this through our nonprofit arm. If you guys know an organization that have a lot of people, and we're really limiting it for like 100, right? So if you can just pull 100 people that you know who might need this, we're willing to go. We're set it up, and we're gonna launch this. I don't know how many times a year. Gabby and her team is saying they want to do 6. I think that's a little ambitious. I think at most we could probably do 3, but we'll go and we'll help out as many people as we can possibly help out in that time. Schools, anyways, it's all fair game, right? And technically a nonprofit, we're supposed to check, do you qualify your income level? We're putting the burden on the organization, right? So if it's a church, if it's a school, if it's a union, you guys do the recruitment. You guys say, okay, our members qualify, they need this. We just go, we speak, and we help out, right? Hopefully that can help as many people as we can. That's one of the reasons why we're doing these shows, and try to help out. But that's what we're seeing, right? People who are on green card, they come into the country, they get detained by ICE, and now they can't even leave, and they can't even get bail. That is a ripe case for a bond hearing. As a green card holder, you don't let me out on bond. What the hell, right? DACA recipients, EWI, if it's a mandatory detention, it's a different story. But if they were picked up and they weren't checked rightly, maybe it's still worth it to file. Maybe the government will just drop the claim and let you out because they don't want to spend the money and the resources to fight that battle, especially if DHS doesn't have funding, right? They don't want to spend the effort to fight it in litigation court. They might as well just let people out. It's so easy for them to do. Last week we did the success story on how we were able to close out an immigration court proceeding and then now transfer it back to USCIS. That is extremely rare, getting rare these days. Immigration courts really don't like to close. The government really doesn't like to concede. We had to fight them twice in the separate motions in order for them to close out a case. We haven't posted that full video yet. I think we will soon, but you can see that. But if you can't close out a case, the next, and the client is detained at immigration court or by ICE, the next best thing is to do the habeas corpus argument in federal court. And so look that up, see if that applies to you, see what kind of arguments you can muster. ChatGPT, OpenAI, they all provide really good samples. Obviously, that's not enough to actually go through the whole proceeding. That's why we're going to do these nonprofit events where we're going to actually show you through every single step so your family can be prepared, not the individual. Because if the individual is detained, they can't do anything, right? It has to be the family that's going to file on their behalf. So at these events, it's really important that the family members are there, that we can show them how to do it, right? Anyways, so that is the news that we want to talk about. It doesn't matter if you're DACA recipients. We're seeing people getting these notices to appear before ICE and getting detained and without bond, which is extremely concerning. And the only solution that the immigration lawyer community hasn't been able to find successful is the habeas corpus, but it is far too expensive for most people. So we want to do this nonprofit thing to be able to help out as many people as we can. So stay tuned for that. We're not the only ones doing it. Plenty of other nonprofits are willing to do it as well. So just start looking into that to help yourself. But anyways, I'll take questions.
Yeah, what do you think about the D visa pause and the 75 country visa pause?
What do I think of it? I think that is exactly what the Trump administration campaigned on and promised. Essentially, they wanted to do it in the first administration with the public charge rule. It didn't succeed back then, and now they are totally enforcing it. So it's totally predictable. I don't foresee it to go away. I think it's going to stay there for the next 2 years. I think it's going to be extended, and it's going to morph. So the 75 country ban is just consulates. They're going to totally take what they learn and try to implement it here in the USCIS, right? So if you're in the United States and you're filing adjustment status, the public charge rule is already there. And I could tell you they're not really adjudicating it based on the new memo that came out yet, but it's only a matter of time. It's only going to get harder and harder. So if you're asking, should I apply now or wait? You should apply now.
And is this coming from the government, or is this your own speculation?
Great question. It's my inference, right? So this is what Trump did on the first administration. This is what's happening now. I talked to a lot of USCIS officers about the public charge rule, and I asked, hey, in 445 cases, have you seen any denials and RFEs regarding this? And anecdotally, all the officers had said, nope, haven't been issuing the request for evidence. I haven't seen any other attorney receive said request for evidence. So it is my best conjecture.
So I am 26. My brother is 23. Can my sister apply for us for a green card? We are TPS card holders.
Oh, is your sister U.S. citizen? And did she already apply a long time ago? Is the priority date current? If it is, then you can file her adjustment of status. If it is not, she files it. You might have to wait a long time. You might become, illegal in the U.S. and then you can file adjustment of status, and then you could try to get a waiver, right? So the answer is probably not.
Yeah, she is a U.S. citizen.
Right. So if you look at the immigration chart, right, if she hasn't filed the I-130 for you yet, the siblings of U.S. citizen, and depending on which country you're from TPS, you're probably not on the super backlog country like India, and China and Philippines and Vietnam, Mexico.
Yeah, they're from Yemen.
Yemen, right. So if you look at it, right, the F4 category could still take a long time. But check it out, right? See how long the processing time is. And when that becomes current, that is when you can apply for a green card.
I filed an expedited request for my spouse's I-130, and I have not received communication because my country is on the immigrant visa banned list. What are my next options?
You filed it. It's on the ban list. They're putting a pause. You're just waiting. Not much you can do. To USCIS, they probably just took the file, put it in a box, and no one's really adjudicating it, and they're moving on to something else. So there's nothing you can really do if it's on the ban list. And we're talking about I-130, right? So now if the I-130 gets approved and it goes to NVC and goes to consulate, and then they deny it because it's based on the ban list, then you can try to apply for an exception.
So for this TPS from Yemen, Yemen is part of the 75-country immigrant visa pause.
But that is only at the consulate, right? So if you're in the U.S., the I-130 can still move forward. Even if you were in Yemen over there, 75-country pause, the I-130 could still move forward, right? I-130 move forward, NVC move forward. It's just when they couldn't give you the actual visa to come in. So if you're already here, just do it, right? Just do the I-130. It's not going to harm you.
I have a marriage-based interview coming up. What to expect? I don't have a criminal background.
Well, marriage interview, the most important thing is if your marriage is real. And they're doing these Stokes interviews, and it's supposedly like random and lottery now. So even if you have a good case, they might still do that. So don't be overly surprised, right?
And what is a Stokes interview?
They will separate the two of you in separate rooms, ask you guys each about 20 questions, and match the questions. You don't have to get it 100% correct, but if 50% is wrong and it's blatantly wrong, then they're concerned, right? And be prepared to show your phones, your messages to each other, your communication to each other. How many times do you call each other? How do you save the other person on your phone? Is it like babe, right? Or is it just their name, right? No emojis. If you guys are young, do you guys both have Facebook? Are you declared married on Facebook? Right? So be prepared to show your phones, your social media. Be prepared to show your text messages.
And what are some common questions they might be asked, especially in like a Stokes interview where they're separated?
It could be anything and everything. And the most important thing is you have to prepare for like the third or fourth question, not just like the first question. But like, for example, they want to test things that they can verify like true or false, right? And a lot of times it's actually connected to your application, right? So, they see the 45 application, they see your work history, they see what country you're from, they see your family members, they see a lot of things in the system, right? So they will ask, well, I know this for a fact. Well, they ask like tangential questions about that, right? So, for example, where does the other person work? What does the office look like? Have you ever been there? Who are some of the coworkers? Who does they always talk about? Who do they not like in the workplace? I mean, everybody has somebody that they kind of don't get along with, right? I mean, nobody here at our firm for
Just
sure.
staring at me. As he says it.
Right, but right. So they'll ask questions that you don't know it's coming, but if it's a real relationship, it must be right. But and then 20 questions. If you don't know one or two of them, that's fine. But some of them could be tricky. Yeah.
What if they denied my asylum for a work permit?
They denied. I'm assuming they denied your work permit, and they denied your asylum, right? Yeah, and so if that's the case, you will be deported.
Okay. My resident alien card expired last August, and I have a biometrics interview next week. Should I be concerned?
No. So I-90, biometrics, very common, not a problem. By the way, you are still a lawful permanent resident, even if your card is expired. That card just gives you certain privileges of entering the U.S. or whatnot. But you are still a lawful permanent resident, right? It's kind of like forgetting the keys to your house or the battery on your smart lock in your house expired or what's it called? Ran out of battery and you can't get in the house. That doesn't mean you're not the owner of the house. You're not the prince of the house, right? It's still your house. It still belongs to you. You're still a lawful permanent resident. Well, it's just your card expired.
Any update on public charge bond for immigration visa?
I haven't seen any, but this is the one where you're supposed to pay that 10,000 or 15,000 bond overseas to come into the U.S. I'm assuming that's what you're asking about. I haven't seen anyone talk about it. We haven't had to use it ourselves ever since it came out last year.
So I am planning to travel this May to see my wife because I couldn't travel since the new administration. What's your advice to prevent being detained by ICE? In the past, I have been sent to secondary inspection because of my DUIs.
See if you could get a global entry. That might help, right? Because if you get the global entry, it essentially clears the DUI issue. And then when you come in, and if it's a short trip, having the global entry will be able to bypass some of those questions and you'll be able to get in. May, 3 months, that's ample enough time to schedule the interview for the global entry. And if the global entry fails, you're not going to be detained on the spot, and you already been to secondary. So I think you should probably apply. And then besides global entry, just bring the records with you this time, right? So the DUI records, what happened, what was the penalty, you paid it, you're not on probation, and you're a good person. Now, if you fly in and worst case scenarios, they do take away your green card. Hopefully you still have the deferred inspection where you can try to get it back, right? But ask to speak to a supervisor once you're in the secondary, if they're kind of enforcing that, because it's a big waste of government resources to do such a thing. And if it's a long time ago, you'll feel a lot better. So if this was like 5 years ago, 7 years ago, you could always use the 42A argument, cancellation or removal, saying I could get my green card back, so why waste everybody's time? So that's my kind of recommendation for people who have a green card, who've been traveling out, who's concerned that they might be inadmissible or deportable.
Can you please tell us a bit more about the asylum application they sent to Uganda?
I don't know. I don't do asylum cases. We don't do it at a firm.
So for this marriage interview, will they check my social media? I've posted about being anti this administration. Will that affect things?
Anti this administration is one thing. The government has been super focused on the Palestine issue. So if you support Ukraine, if you support Russia, if you support many other countries, it seems to be okay. I haven't seen any people get in trouble. But the moment you are I have to say anti-Israel, right? I think supporting Palestinians are generally okay in a very loose way, but it's more so being anti-Israel on this situation the past year and a half till now. That has been a big problem. So it depends on what's on your social, right? If you're just making fun of the Trump administration. I mean, remember, these officers that you're seeing also live in this world, and this is a job, and they've been here for maybe 10, 20 years. Their career, you don't know what their political affiliations are. So they are human beings that you're talking to, right? They are not just mindless puppets of this administration. With that being said, there are really strict guidelines regarding being like a domestic terrorist, right? And so we're seeing customs officer, we're seeing ICE agents super strict regarding those issues, especially if you're a visa holder, F1 visa holder, B1, B2 visa holder. But if you're a green card holder, it's a little bit better. Hopefully that helps.
For N600K,
Yeah.
As a dad living here, how do I prove physical custody following a mutual divorce? Like what documents?
Yeah, great. Yeah, we do a lot of these. School records, hospital visits, joint bank accounts. You manage their social media. You have the Apple ID, right? You control their accounts. You pay for the bills. A lot of pictures of your house, kids, where you go. Their school. If it's like right next to your house and you're there, chances are you're the one picking up and all this stuff. PTA events, progress reports, right? Text messages, emails, celebrations. There's endless amount of things that you can provide. Sometimes it's a little bit harder if it's like joint custody, where like, okay, they say most of the time with mom, but you are there. Do you have physical custody? Is it enough to qualify for green card for your kid? I mean, not green card, citizenship for a kid. You have to do more extensive argument. Like, yeah, well, I pay for all the child support. I do all of these other things. I take them to sports practice. Yeah, but just go above and beyond, right? Get 20 documents, get 40 documents, and go in and prepare everything.
What do you think the H-1B lottery chances are for a wage level 2 this year?
Personally, I think the chance of getting picked is very high, based on everything that we're seeing in Silicon Valley, right? I mean, if you didn't know, a few tech companies, like within 10 tech companies, uses up like almost 70, 80% of the lottery every year. So this year, based on everything we know, maybe they will only use less than half of what they usually use. So that means it opens. So in the past, the rest of the percentage is like 20, 30%, right? So maybe this year might be go to 70, 80%, and with the wage level, it might be even higher.
If my husband wants to apply for a green card, do I need to show proof that I can support him financially?
I'm assuming you are the sponsor. So if you're the sponsor, you need to prove it. You could always get a joint sponsor, right? And if joint sponsor doesn't have enough, you can always get a joint sponsor. And you can always use assets as well, right?
How do I work with you?
You are doing it right now, right? So hopefully this is good. If this is not good enough for you, you can always go on our website and book a consultation. You could find the different time slots. We have a lot of different people here who can jump in and do a consultation. If you only want to do a consultation with me, you could still book it and just specify you only want to talk to Joseph. Then somebody will reach out, kind of coordinate. And then hopefully I can help you just with the consultation. You don't need to hire us for the full case. But if you want to hire for the full case, of course, we'll be happy to. We'll send you the retainer after the consultation.
And our links are in our bio, whatever platform you're on. Would you recommend uploading unsolicited evidence after an interview because the spouse changed jobs?
That doesn't sound that important. But if it gives you peace of mind, go ahead and upload it. It's, sure. People upload unsolicited documents all the time. In fact, 99% of the documents we submit are unsolicited because the idea is you want to prove your case. So the burden of proof is on you. So go ahead, right? The law is set up so that everything is unsolicited.
Are I-751s guaranteed approval? And what's the percentage rate at your office?
Yeah. Well, of course, 751 is not guaranteed. There's nothing that's guaranteed. 751 in general have a very high chance of success. Just generally looking at the statistics, right? I mean, what, maybe 70, 80% cases are approved. Even 751 waivers, the approval rate is not that low. I think our success rate is over 99% for 751 and 751 waiver. I can't say past means the future. You know, we do a really good job. We focus a lot. We cost a lot. You know, we spend a lot of effort building up each case, so it's really good. In fact, today's success story is about a 751 waiver that was super weak. So stay tuned for this success story. Thank you for asking. That's a good transition. It's, you know, I'll talk about it a little bit later, but it's a really weak 751 waiver. So if you have a 751, you might be way stronger than that. And I can show you how Margaret's team got it approved, right?
And are you prepared to prove a 99% success rate in court?
Am I prepared to prove a 99%? You know, if I have to go to the state bar and I have to go to court and I have to prove it, I think we could, right? We just have to pull up every single one of our cases that were ever filed and just count how many approvals and denials. And so if we have over 100 submissions and only one denial, then that's 99%, right? And so to the best of my knowledge, we have very few denials. Now, if we do think it's a really bad case, we will make the client sign a waiver saying, hey, we don't think this case is an approval, so we won't count that. But still, I think we're pretty good. But again, the goal is not about our percentage, right? That doesn't mean anything. What matters is, can you build your best case, right? And so we try to give you all the advice. We give you all the strategy. You could totally file it on your own. It's not rocket science. You know, prepare well, interview well, cross all the T's, dot all the I's, and the case should get approved.
I did my medical exam last year. Is it still valid?
Nope. They make you do it again. And one client had to do it 4 times. That's how annoying USCIS is. And every single time they have to repay again. It's terrible.
My I-94 has expired, and I'm married to a U.S. citizen. Will that be a problem?
Well, will that be a problem? Right now, you're a visa overstay. If ICE picks you up, they could detain you. If you don't have an I-130 and a 485, you might not qualify for bond. So will that be a problem? Absolutely. You should file the I-130, 45 as soon as you can, avoid getting picked up, and then succeed at the interview so you can get your green card.
Are they giving green cards for people in the 75 visa-paused countries?
If you're in the U.S.
Do you have lawyers in France? I will need your services.
We do not have lawyers in France, unfortunately, but we do have French-speaking paralegals here at the firm who can help.
Office manager, right? Not paralegal.
Oh, office manager. That's right.
So for this biometric, it hasn't been a year. They did it last year, but it hasn't been like 12 months. Do they still have to retake?
If you got the notice, then yes, you have to. But I know that USCIS is requiring a lot of people to do the biometrics, and they're not waiving biometrics anymore.
So for this N600K, they have a French passport to enter the United States. Oh yeah, okay. So they have a French passport to enter the United States for the interview for N600K. This is the kid. Does the kid have to apply for a tourist visa?
So the kid didn't come into the U.S. yet.
Mm-hmm. Kid is in France.
Oh.
I believe American citizen is in France with the kid.
I see. Yeah, if you want to go through that entire process, you know, bring them in and then do the N600K, but you might have a better shot and make it easier just directly doing it at the consulate, if that's possible. Probably good for a consultation.
I think my assumption was wrong. So feel free to clarify. But so if, will the kid, American citizen living in the U.S., kid is abroad in France with a French passport. So if the kid wants to enter for this N600K interview, will they need a tourist visa?
Or ESTA to be able to come in. But the question is, how were you spending 2 years together, right? So you really want to prove that and the physical presence. I
see. I had N400 interview in October of 2025. Wasn't given a decision, but passed everything. I'm still waiting.
October 2025. It's a little bit long. Normally, we see results within a month. If you're not part of the 75 country ban, or I mean not 75, if you're not part of like the pause for all permanent, the 19 country one, I believe, I would probably use Emma and the 800 number to check to kind of push USCIS. Maybe they forgot, you know, and then if it's past 6 months, I'll probably do congressional inquiry, and then if it's past 1 year, I'll consider mandamus action.
What do you think of the lawsuit against the 75 country pause? Do you think it'll be successful?
No. I think the legal team that Trump has assembled this presidency is so much more sophisticated from the first one. He had a lot of time to prepare. I think a lot of things that he's doing seems reckless, seems not thought through, seems random, but it has a lot of legal basis that he can use. So I don't think the challenge to stop it will succeed. The tariffs, on the other hand, is a different matter. I think that might be stopped, but we'll see.
It's wild to hear avoid getting picked up. Like what wild times to live in. Very eerie.
I completely agree.
How long is T visa processing?
We don't do T visas at the firm.
My mom has been out for 2 years with a green card. What should I do?
I'm assuming she doesn't have a reentry permit. If she doesn't, and I hope you are a U.S. citizen, if you guys can prepare for a really good entry package, you have to be able to explain to the customs officer why the U.S. is her home, she never didn't abandon it, and why being out of the U.S. was temporary in nature, and how you can reapply for your mom, even if they take away their green card, right? And so there's a lot of things there. We made a lot of videos, probably over 100 on our YouTube channel, that talks about all the different people who've been out for 2 years, 3 years, 7 years, 9 years, 13 years, the different strategies we used, tax returns, the health checkups, people passing away in her home country, why she was stuck, everything and anything. So take a look there, brainstorm, and if you feel like you need a more dedicated consultation, we could set that one up as well.
Why would the USCIS officer ask for a pardon for bringing your kids and your wife with parole at the border?
Why would a USCIS officer ask for a pardon?
For bringing your kids with you, in parentheses, wife, with parole at the border.
Why would
marriage to U.S. citizen green card.
I don't. Well, walk me through the question again.
Why would the USCIS officer ask for a pardon for bringing your kids with you with parole at the border?
You brought your kids through the border, potentially without inspection, and you are applying for their green card, and they are the beneficiary. They entered without inspection, or because you said pardon, so I'm assuming that's a waiver, right? So they got paroled in. So if they got paroled in, they are eligible to do adjustment of status, even if they overstay their I-94. And then once you adjust, the USCIS officer is now interviewing you, and you are the immediate relative. Technically, you don't need a waiver, but if the USCIS officer is asking for it, it's probably because it's not just the unlawful presence. Maybe they think there's fraud and misrepresentation. They want to see extreme hardship. They want to waive some other inadmissibility. That's the idea of the pardon, right? So if there is misrepresentation somewhere along the line, and it can't be like claiming to be U.S. citizen, because that's unpardonable, right? You can't waive that. So there's probably something smaller. Maybe you lied to an immigration officer, you lied to an ICE agent, or something like that. Then now you're required to file a waiver.
During work from home and COVID, I worked in Santa Clara, but my I-20 mentions it as Seattle. Will this be an issue for 485?
I haven't seen that as a problem yet, as long as it's the same employer. So on the I-20, on the OPT, where you're actually living, not that important. I have seen a lot of problems where you say one employer, but you're actually working for a different employer, and the employer that is on the record doesn't even exist, or you never worked for them. That is fraud and misrepresentation, and that requires a waiver.
So if my I-94 had expired and I'm married to a U.S. citizen, what should I do?
So since you have an I-94, that means you entered legally on a visa. You're a visa overstay. You're married to a U.S. citizen. So your immediate step is to file an I-130, file 45, file 765, file I-131, which I-131 probably won't be approved, but what the heck. In our firm, we oftentimes just still do it anyways. And within 2-3 months, you'll get biometrics appointment, and then you will have your marriage interview potentially in 9 months. And if you kill the marriage interview, do it super well, then the green card arrives within a month or 2 months.
Oh, for this pardon for the border, maybe they're considering the kids were human trafficked or smuggled, so they need a pardon or waiver for that.
The kids were smuggled, so they entered without inspection, right? That means they weren't paroled in. They were smuggled in. They entered without inspection. So then they can't do adjustment of status. So that's why they have to do the waiver. And that's why you have to do a 601 waiver.
Are they already choosing 100 to 200 people a month for denaturalization?
I haven't heard about that yet.
How can I include my wife in my taxes this year, since I support her 100%?
You should talk to a CPA.
I got my 2-year green card. Is it mandatory to bring my 2-year-old daughter to the 71 interview for more evidence?
It is not strictly necessary, no. If your case is already really good, I believe it probably is. You could have a babysitter and take care of the kid at home. On the other hand, I have seen officers get a little bit annoyed that they don't get to see the child. Case is still approved, so maybe just deal with some attitude, but maybe that officer was just particularly likes kids. I don't know, but we definitely have seen officers like, you have a kid, you should have brought the kid. I want to see the kid. But plenty of cases have gotten approved.
Is AOS inside the US? Will that be processed as normal for people from 75 countries but not from the 19 or 39 countries?
Yes, adjustment of status, AOS, is in the United States. It's a 48-5 form, and you are not bound by the 75 country ban. You are processed just like everybody else who's not part of the list. With that being said, the public charge rule in the US is still alive and well and active, so you be mindful of it, so prepare for it. I haven't seen any RFEs, requests for evidence or denials, based on the new memo and the new rules, but you should definitely still prepare well.
Do you think we'll see real immigration reform to remove bars and help dreamers within the decade?
I have a strong belief that after this administration, when the pendulum swings back to the other side, there is so much motivation to help people who are in the camp of DACA that something will happen, right? So, I mean, if you think about it, right? What was it like? I mean, Obama, Trump, Biden, Trump, what was it, right? I mean, our world in the United States, it's getting so politicized, it's so bipolar that things are just swinging left and right like crazy. And next administration, what if the Democrats control House, Senate, Supreme Court, and the president? What kind of big reform will come then, right? This administration got the one big beautiful bill. There's still 3 more years. There still could be some things down the line. I don't foresee any crazy immigration reforms that's in the immigrant-friendly immigration reforms. I could potentially see an immigration reform that drastically changes the immigration system, which they're already doing without even necessarily Congress's approval. But when the pendulum swings back the other side hard, I think there will be a path to citizenship for DACA recipients.
Right. And we've heard that a lot from like other immigration practitioners at AILA and stuff like that too, right?
Yeah, I'm not the only one who hold that opinion. A
Yeah.
lot of people share that opinion. I mean, for the past decade plus, right, there has been effort after effort trying to get some sort of path to citizenship, bill after bill. There's so many iterations of it already floating around. So it's really just the political will and the people, right?
I am a DV 2V, have been denied twice for N400 and N336, said I'm inadmissible since 2015. Can I still file citizenship?
I mean, you can keep on trying, but this administration, if your case is weak and they deny again, you might. I mean, the past denial was just you're inadmissible. If you apply again and they're stricter now, what if they say you're deportable and you get an NTA and now you go to immigration court, right? So that is the scary thing that you're facing.
Okay, yeah. So for this pardon, that is, they did say that even the kids and their wife were smuggled, even though
Okay.
they all got paroled at the border.
That is a contradiction. If you got paroled, then you can file for adjustment status and you don't need a waiver. If you got smuggled and you enter without inspection, then you need a waiver. So unless it's like what I said earlier, where it's not about the parole, it's not about adjustment status, it's about the misrepresentation, or it could just be USCIS saying, you know what, I just want a waiver just to be safe, right? Because I may or may not need it, but just give it to me. But if you have a wife and 3 kids, you know, you could prepare a pretty good extreme hardship waiver, right? It's a 601 waiver. You check out some of our YouTube videos. We've definitely done way more difficult cases. People who just got married with no kids and just, dogs.
Is this something that like a FOIA to see what actually CBP thinks happened would be helpful?
If you do a FOIA, you could see it. But if USCIS already admitted that you were paroled in, you don't really need further proof that you were paroled because they already admitted it, right? So there was a couple cases we did where we filed with USCIS and USCIS is on our records, it shows that you were paroled in. And then we're like, that's sufficient. We are filing for adjustment and we're getting a green card.
My NOID expired the same day I got the notice in the mailbox. What can I do? Can I still respond?
Yeah, and contest it, right? You weren't given enough notice.
I have the H-1B as a senior software engineer. Also, a visa stamp valid until 2027 in March. Now, I am in India, and I'm a software engineering manager. I'm planning to come back to the US next year as a software engineer manager. Will I need an amendment filed, and will I need to pay the $100,000 fee?
Great question. If it's the same visa for the same company, you don't need the 100,000. So you already got the visa, you already secured it. It is not a new visa. It's the same company. If it's a different company, a new petition, you need it. Now the tricky part is because you've been out and you're filing an amendment, I would probably not file the amendment. I would probably use the valid visa and try to convince the officer to come in. And once you come in, then file the amendment. But if the 797 is already expired, if the visa is already expired, and you've been out for too long, and you're filing a new case, then you might need to pay the 100,000.
What do you think will happen to Afghan immigrants?
In the U.S., you mean? So if they're already in the U.S., the past 2-3 years, U.S. expedited all of them to come in. A lot of them were paroled, filed adjustment. They're waiting, and they're being re-adjudicated even with their green card. I think a lot of them will still get the green card. They're just going through the quote-unquote normal process that everybody else is kind of going through. Maybe they're going through it 2 times compared to other people. But I think a lot of them will be able to still get the green card. Maybe some of them won't qualify, and that will be extremely sad. Given all the things that they had to sacrifice, everything they endured, and all the promises the U.S. made to them. But I think most people will still get it.
Okay, we'll take one more question, then jump into our success story. IR1 sent back to USCIS after divorce because my lawyer forgot to add divorce decree at NBC stage. Any idea of like the time this will take?
We've seen sometimes it takes more than 9 months for consulate, NBC, send it back to USCIS, USCIS send it to you, and then you resubmit everything. So it could be over 9 months. You just have to keep on pressing them.
Okay, and our final last question. I did my biometrics and I have my receipt number, but my I-94 is expired. Will that be a problem?
No. But I mean, don't leave the country, right? Because yeah, I mean, biometrics is just one step of the way, right? So you have to get the green card first. I'm assuming the I-94 is for the green card.
Does the pause for 75 countries affect someone in the US waiting for a VAWA green card?
Nope.
Recommendation on I-130 for my minor daughter from Thailand, whose mother is a naturalized US citizen. Thailand, I believe, is part of the 75 country ban. Daughter is 14. Should she wait due to the pause or apply anyway?
Apply. I guess it's like this. If you guys are still in Thailand, you could always try to get a tourist visa or a student visa. You're 14, right? It's perfect ripe age to get a boarding school international visa, student visa come over. If you can get into the US and the mother is in the US, then the mother can apply for the I-130 and the 45 afterwards because the 75 country ban doesn't affect them. Then it might work. If that fails, the tourist visa is denied, the student visa is denied, can't come into the US, then file the I-130, go through all the process, I-130, NBC consulate, and at the end, they will say, sorry, we cannot approve you because of this presidential proclamation. Wait, maybe it gets lifted early, and then you can get the green card to come in, right? So do that. At least you can lock in your CSPA, your Child Status Protection Act, so the child's age is frozen, even though they keep on getting older and older, right?
Can I hire you to help me respond to my NOID? This is the NOID that expired the same day they got it.
Since it's already expired, and I know my team's capacity right now at the firm is completely maxed out, we probably won't be able to take on your case right now, but I'm always happy to do a consultation. I'll read through the NOID with you. I'll give you all the advice. I'll treat you like if you're my associate attorney. This is what I think you should do, and everything will be recorded, so you could just, take the transcript, put in ChatGPT, improve it, and file it. Happy to do that, but we won't be able to take on the full case. And so your cost is just a $250 consultation.
And our last question, okay, 2 more questions. They changed my individual hearing from 2026 to 2029 in San Francisco. What should I do?
I'm assuming because you are here, you're not being detained, and that's a good thing. So in this administration, we see a lot of people who are detained without bond. So at least now you won't be picked up by ICE because you're already in the system. Build your case, do it as good as possible. Maybe you can have them reschedule it, close it, and transfer it to USCIS, but you have basically time to improve your case.
Okay, and our last question, will I still get an extension on the 751 receipt due to the Trump pause? In other words, is it mandatory I get the receipt?
I don't know. I don't know if that is a benefit. It seems like it's a benefit, but will it be automatic? Will it bypass the system? Maybe it will, right? Because if you file the 751, it just goes to the mailing center. They scan it, they issue it, they give you a receipt. It will automatically say the template, and so maybe you will get it. So my recommendation, just do it. Yeah, you don't know until you know. Today's success story is about a 751 waiver case, and it is probably one of the weakest 751 waiver cases that we did all last year. I'm not gonna say it's the weakest ever in the firm. We have some really, really weak ones. But when I saw this case, I'm like, how did this case get approved? And everybody laughed because nobody knows. It's just that bad. It's one of those things that we generally wouldn't even want to touch. almost every other firm rejected it. It somehow slipped through and we got retained somehow, and we filed it and it was successful. I almost don't have anything to share of value that tells you how this case was successful because we didn't think it was going to be successful. Let me kind of walk you through the facts. Okay, so it's a 751 waiver case, meaning the applicant, the foreign national, got married to a US citizen, applied for a green card, got the green card, and now they got divorced, and now they have to file a 751 waiver to try to get the green card, okay? So first, the applicant and 3 children, so 4 people, entered B1, B2 visa in 2019, overstayed, got married to a US citizen, applied for a green card, got 4 temporary green cards, mother and the 3 kids, 2019. Well, I remember how we did this case because we did it, right? We were the ones who initially got retained after they came in, and then we filed the first adjustment of status. So, okay, we filed it. They all got temporary green card. A year and a half, 2 years passes by. The U.S. citizen abandons the entire family. They cannot reach him. He just completely abandons, ghosts all of them. So now we have to file for a 751 waiver, and we have to do the divorce. So that's a really tricky case. The marriage was short. They just met. They just got married. They just got the green card, and he ghosts them. Was this a fraud? I don't know, right? The client came from a country that has high fraud. I'm not going to say the name of the country, but they came from a country with high fraud. So USCIS is always super suspicious on these type of cases from people of this nationality. Oh man, it gets worse. Joint documents to prove the marriage is real. They had like a few, like less than $1,000 or maybe just $1,000 in their joint bank account. There's not a lot of commingled assets. There's no house, there's no car, there's just not much. They got married, the guy ghosts them. There wasn't a lot of affidavit of support. There wasn't a lot of friends and family to support them. It just looked extremely weak. And I could probably go on to talk about how weak the case is. Over 20-year age gap between the wife and the older gentleman. And I could go on, but I'm not going to. You get the idea. It's a really difficult case. But we did the first green card. Now it's 751. We cannot abandon them now. So we filed it. We did our best. We wrote the attorney brief. We wrote the affidavit. We prepared as many documents as we can possibly muster. We filed it. Yet the interview was waived. We have it's nearly impossible for a 751 waiver application to have their interview waived. This interview was waived. We got 1 request for evidence. We submitted the documents explaining the divorce, and the case was approved. The only explanation that I have that why an officer who was doing their job reviewed this case and proved it was because of the soft sympathetic factors. If you just purely looked at what the requirements are for this 751 waiver, for their marriage, for the joint documents, they fail every single test. But US citizen abandoned wife. Maybe that officer was just recently ghosted when they were dating. Maybe they know how it feels. They were a low-income family. They were extremely struggling. In this administration, public charge is a big issue. We filed it the case got approved in November 2025. Like I said, the new memo came out last year, I think September time. They're not really using it to adjudicate. The case got approved even though their income was so small. So the applicant and the 3 kids don't have a good job, don't have a lot of finances, husband ghosted them. That's sad. The third thing, single mother with 3 kids, all teenagers, all been in the US for years now. If this case gets denied, it's 4 denials. If it's approved, it's 4 green cards, but they already have a green card. Looking through the children's documentation, looking at their potential in the US, looking at everything, good kids. Maybe the officer had sympathy for the kids. By this point, the kid's already undergone 2 divorces. Original parents from the home country, now second dad, now in the US. The trauma that these kids are facing, the mother is facing, maybe the officer had sympathy there. And that's my best guess. We a lot of times when a case succeeds, we don't know why. If it fails, we get a denial notice and we can see exactly. But in the face of the impossible, all we can do is do our best. And sometimes miracles like this happen. Margaret's team, again, worked on these crazy marriage-based cases, 751 waiver cases. She's done the most at this firm, hands down. And she's very, very successful with her team. I don't know how she does it. The formatting looks great. And she actually joked, it's the formatting, like it just looks good. Maybe that's it, And she learned it from, I think, Andy. Andy does a really good job with formatting with all the business type cases. And, we joke around in our firm, like maybe half the time we're doing legal work is really just formatting. And so the officer, when they're flipping through it, they feel good about the case. But I can't tell you what legal argument we used. There was no legal arguments. It was just sympathy. It was just emotions. It was just, they are good people. Please approve it. And if there's anything, there are good officers that work at USCIS. And this case proves it, And maybe it's at least from our side, we think this is a good officer. If they're from the Trump administration, they would say, find this person, we want to fire them. Who knows, right? But I think this is a good family. I see their work. I see the taxes they pay. I think they're honest, good, hardworking people. Ghosted by a U.S. citizen, they couldn't help it, right? And so they tried their best and tried to make it work. And now they're contributing to the U.S. economy. And I wish them the absolute best. And I wish you the absolute best if you are going through this process yourself. Thank you for watching. This is Success Story for today. If you have any questions about 751 waivers, feel free to book a consultation. Ask for Margaret. Take care. Bye-bye.